Good evening, I'm Wolastoqey. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. We begin on the East Coast, where a Wolastoqey family is outraged after a nurse admitted to refusing to visit their loved one in his home. The reason given was that it was after dark and that he resided in an Indigenous community. Angel Moore has this exclusive story.
Trina Havke talks about her dad, Leo William Francis.
And this is his smile, and my dad lived for his grandchildren. All of them. It doesn't matter if they were extended or not. Those were his pride and joy.
Francis was diagnosed with terminal cancer in 2020, and he was spending his final days at home with his family in his community, the Nagudkuk First Nation.
Dad didn't want to go because he wanted to live out the remainder of his time at home. He didn't want to be in hospital where any invasive procedures would happen. He just wanted to be able to die peacefully.
Havke is the youngest of 5 siblings. She was living with her father to take care of him. On the night of September 10th, 2023, her father experienced respiratory distress. So she called New Brunswick's home health care program that provides health services in homes to request a home visit from the on-call nurse. To Havke's surprise, she refused to enter the community.
I wasn't sure what I had heard. I didn't think I heard that. I wanted to clarify. I've never experienced discrimination like this ever. So I asked again. I just said, so you're saying you don't want to come into my community after dark in the middle of the night? And she said, well, yeah, in the middle of the night.
Instead, the on-call nurse suggested paramedics attend.
Because they can come in pairs and I'm not supposed to go alone. Should have raised a red flag, didn't, because I've never experienced this type of situation before.
That same night, the paramedics took Francis to the hospital, where Francis became unconscious. Later that day, he was sent home. 4 days later, Francis died, but he never regained consciousness.
By her refusing to come into the community that evening, she took that choice away from my dad, and she took that choice away from me. And so I take that really hard.
Nagudkuk is located in New Brunswick, near the Maine border, about 150 kilometers northwest of Fredericton. With about 2,500 people, the community has a health center that provides services such as primary health care, but they don't have the staff to provide 24-hour care. Dina Sapier is a health director. She says this incident could have been prevented.
So the province has, a duty to respond to our communities, and if they feel that there's a safety issue for whatever reason, and I know Trina's family, there's no safety issue there. They have to communicate that with us, and we have to come and discuss, plans to move forward and how to mitigate that.
Chief Ross Purley says safety is not the issue.
Our community is not any less safer than the town of Perth Andover. Our community isn't less safer than the town of Grand Falls. But because this type of these type of views are allowed in the system, and the program doesn't make those types of changes, that's the problem.
Havke filed a complaint with the Nurses Association of New Brunswick on October 31st, 2024. The Complaints Committee released their decision where the nurse admitted to refusing to visit a patient in respiratory distress at his residence after dark to perform an assessment because his residence was in an Indigenous community. The nurse also admitted violating New Brunswick's nursing standards and ethics that stipulates that nurses must refrain from discriminating based on a person's race, ethnicity, culture, place of origin, or any other attribute. Purley doesn't blame the nurse, but systemic racism in New Brunswick healthcare. He hopes to work with the provincial government to make things better.
So where we go from here, I'm hoping the new government changes their unwritten policies and make sure that Indigenous people all over the province get the equal services that they deserve and have a right to.
The Nursing Association of New Brunswick suspended the nurse for 2 months. She must take remedial education related to Indigenous reconciliation awareness. And she was made aware that there are no restrictions on visiting a community at any time. She also apologized to the family, although indirectly. Outraged says that is not enough.
You know, it was my hope that her license would be revoked. It was my hope that she would no longer be able to practice.
Home care spokesperson Christina Wolastoqey said in a statement to APTN News they cannot comment on details regarding human resources matters, but any concerns are thoroughly investigated. The Nurses Association of New Brunswick interim CEO Kate Shepherd said they are committed to ensuring equitable and culturally safe care for all individuals. In the meantime, Outraged and her siblings have contacted a lawyer to discuss their legal options. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Nugudguk First Nation.
After 4.5 years, the family of Megan Gallagher must wait a bit longer for justice after a water main break shut down Saskatoon's Court of King's bench on Wednesday, delaying the sentencing of 2 people convicted for their roles in her case. Cheyenne Petitus and Summer Sky Henry were supposed to be sentenced after pleading guilty to manslaughter in Megan Gallagher's 2020 death. The courtroom was full, but sentencing was delayed. Justice Mona Dovell said she will deal with a challenge to a sweeping publication ban on most aspects of the case next week on January 29th. The CBC and the Saskatoon Star-Phoenix are both behind the challenge. Sentencing has now been rescheduled to February 6th. Brian Gallagher is Megan's father.
We were all ready. We had our victim impact statements ready to go, and we've been rehearsing them. And you know, it's a process of planning and going through that. It doesn't happen overnight. That process of a victim impact statement probably needs at least 3 or 4 days just to get your thoughts together, and then to present it. You know, it takes a lot of courage to stand up there and express those words.
It has just been over 3 years since 40-year-old Janine Erminskin went missing in Edmonton. Now the Edmonton Police Service has launched a video and billboard campaign in Alberta, hoping for more tips to come in. The EPS has partnered with a number of organizations, including Crime Stoppers, to renew efforts to find Erminskin. She was last in touch with her family on January 6, 2022. Janine Erminskin is 5'8" with brown eyes and long dyed blonde hair and a thin build. She was last seen wearing a jacket, black pants, and a red hoodie. Anyone with information can call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. Here's a video produced by the Edmonton Police Service on the campaign to find her.
Her boyfriend last heard from her at about 2:30 that day. She continued to remain active on her phone up until about 10 p.m.
I know if anybody's seen her in anything, they should just know that she does have family. She has a big family.
The family really needs a closure. They need something.
Janine Erminskin, she's was 38 years old at the time that she went missing, and she went missing on January 6th of 2022.
It was always her personality, her jokes, her sense of humor.
We haven't had any credible sightings. There's been people who think they've seen Janine, and everything that's been reported to us, we've followed up on it. We've never been able to confirm that it was her since January 6th. So I do believe that something happened to her on the 6th.
It's hard to know a family member is gone and missing.
If you have any information, you can contact Crime Stoppers or call the police non-emergency line.
Indigenous communities in the north are worried following President Trump's vow to develop more oil and gas in Alaska. That story when we come back. Welcome back. It's the only case in Canada where an entire family disappeared, and now remaining family members are frustrated with what they say is a lack of police investigation into the case. Ronnie Jack, his wife Dorina, and their two boys Ryan and Russell went missing in August of 1989 from Prince George, British Columbia. After more than 35 years, they have never been found. APTN's Tina House interviewed the sister of the missing mother. They join us from Vancouver.
It was on August 2nd, 1989, that the entire Jack family went missing. Joining us today is Marlene Jack, the sister of Doreen Jack, who was the mother of the family. Can you please tell me an update on the story?
Not too much. I did a meeting with the RCMP, and they pretty much told me the same thing, that the information that we just turned in about the last search I did, they said there was not enough to go on. So the money factor came in. Nothing's changed. They're not actively investigating right now. So I have so much to say that it just blows my mind on how this investigation was flawed in the beginning. If they had acted on it sooner, I think we wouldn't be here wondering what happened to our family. It's just so frustrating that everything that's happened with all the information that I received and all the information that the RCMP are discrediting is totally unfair, that they just not interested to me in finding our family members at all.
Now, it was actually through our last interview that we did with you that a viewer reached out to you, gave you some specific information of where possibly the family could be found. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
I did a private search. I received a tip that there was a sighting up on a mountain way up, sort of like north of PG, I think. And I gave that information to RCMP, and the RCMP decided that, no, we want a GPS location. And I asked, well, are you going to look? Because he gave a specific location, but he wanted a GPS location. So that's what led me to my private search up in the mountain there. And as you saw on my Jack page, all the information I put out there, like the help that I received, the cadaver dogs that were doing the search and everything. That area was not they talked to the guy that gave me the information. And going on him and what they've learned, they decided that that area was not for them to be pursuing it any further. So I feel that that's where they are, because nobody does something like that, like bury carpets up in the mountain, unless, like, I know it's dump areas sometimes, but yeah.
Now, Marlene, please remind our viewers again the story of your family and exactly what happened to them.
The story is that they went missing. They were offered jobs out at a logging camp. Doreen as a camp cook, and they had daycare out there, and Ronnie as a logger. But I don't feel that that's what that's the circumstances they went missing under. There's a lot more to the story. I found out so much in the last search I did. I've interviewed like three of us, Chantel, Bridget, and I interviewed a whole lot of people, and they gave us so much more information. I'm pretty much caught up at the same level with the RCMP, and then the only thing we have trouble, or having trouble now, is the timeline. So the timeline is totally messed up with everything with all the information that we have. So, and this being 35 years later, everybody's growing old, and memories are not so great. So I'm more like depending, because we already know who's all responsible. They're all passed away. I'm hoping family members' wives or ex-wives or somebody would come forward that knew these people to come forward and let me know a little more information and put down this timeline so we can finally bring our family home. I asked them, the RCMP, to do a final search with a cadaver dog or a GPR just to get that ranch out of my head and out of the investigation. But they said even if they did that, they still can't eliminate the ranch because that's the last known location that they were supposedly at.
We wish you continued strength and prayers as you continue to try to find answers and bring your beloved family home. If anybody knows any information about the missing Jack family, Ronnie, Doreen, and their 2 boys, Russell and Ryan, please reach out to your local Crime Stoppers or your local RCMP. Back to you in studio.
Thank you, Tina. United States President Donald Trump's second term in office began on Monday. One of his administration's first tasks will be opening a sensitive portion of a wildlife refuge in Alaska to oil and gas development. Sarah Connors tells us how Indigenous groups and environmentalists with vested interests in the refuge are reacting to the news.
The 45th and the 47th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
Newly elected U.S. President Donald Trump wasted no time getting down to business during his inauguration address on Monday.
We will drill, baby, drill.
It came as no surprise during his administration's first day, he issued an executive order to tap into Alaska's resource potential.
Yes, sir. This is an executive order relating to unleashing Alaska's potential as an energy reservoir for the entire nation.
And what about,
I think all of us are feeling very stressed.
Trump's agenda could have major implications for the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge and those who want to see it protected. The nearly 20 million acre refuge is located in northeast Alaska, some of which is not permanently protected. That includes the coastal plain, which acts as vital calving grounds for the porcupine caribou herd, an area the Gwich'in in Alaska and northern Canada consider sacred. The Vuntut Gwich'in in northern Yukon says any drilling in the refuge will affect their way of life.
That will change drastically if we don't have caribou, because we are caribou people.
But Trump is eager to delve into Alaska's oil reserves at any cost. His executive order rolls back many Biden-era environmental protections for the refuge. That includes reinstating drilling leases within the refuge that were canceled by the Biden administration in 2023.
Everybody knew pretty much that something like this would come out.
But this conservation group says oil and gas companies aren't interested in the refuge. A second mandated drilling lease sale earlier this month received 0 bids.
Insurance companies internationally have pulled out. Banks don't want to support it. It's just bad business.
The group also says the Trump administration doesn't have the manpower needed to execute the order during his term.
Even if they do start to do work, it would take 10 years before we even saw any of the fruition of that work.
So we're looking forward to an opportunity to see that coastal plain opened.
But Inupiat communities on Alaska's northern slope say drilling in the refuge can unlock economic benefits. The Inupiat have the ability to tax infrastructure on their land, which helps fund the local economy. They say their views are often left out of decisions when it comes to the refuge.
They're feeling forgotten because nobody ever mentions them, and they are the closest and rely on a lot of the same animals that are relied on by the communities to the south.
But for the Vuntut Gwich'in, the protection of the caribou is paramount.
We have to really honor our fundamental relationship with the land and the caribou, and we have to protect that at all costs.
Trump also declared a national energy emergency during his first day in office. The declaration criticizes the U.S. current energy infrastructure while also calling for increased oil and gas drilling. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Thanks, Sarah. The Muslim and Indigenous communities are coming together this weekend in Winnipeg. We'll tell you why when we're back in less than 3 minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. It was a quiet, calm, and chilly morning at the First Nations University of Canada, located in Regina, Saskatchewan, and Nelson Bird wanted to share this moment with all of us. A big thanks to Nelson for sending that picture in. Send us your photos to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. On the East Coast, St. John's -6, Charlottetown -6. La Grande River -22, Anujiwak -15. Quebec City -11, Saint Jovite -10. Sarnia -6, London -7. Big Trout Lake sunny and -18, Timmins -10. Churchill -13, Puckatawagan -9. Winnipeg -16, Barons River partly cloudy and -14. Swift Current -3, Yorkton -7. Stony Rapids -6, Buffalo Narrows -1. -3 in Fort Chipewyan, Peace River 0. 2 in Lethbridge, Medicine Hat -1. -3 in Kamloops, Bella Coola 7. 2 in Fort Nelson, Dees Lake -8. Watson Lake -12, Whitehorse -6. Watee -4, Yellowknife -4. Colville Lake -6, Paulatuck -7. Chesterfield -19, Baker Lake -16. And Arctic Bay -26, Iqaluit -20. A first-of-its-kind National Muslim Indigenous Solidarity Conference will be held in Winnipeg this weekend. Over 150 Indigenous and Muslim participants will hear from speakers, engage in roundtable conversations, and build healing relationships together. Shahina Siddiqui, the executive director of the Islamic Social Services Association, organized the conference with 2 Indigenous community leaders, Diane Redsky and Sandra Delaron. On Saturday and Sunday, Indigenous elders, Muslim imams, and community panelists will discuss topics ranging from the legacy of colonialism to the significance and legality of treaties. The first day wraps up with bannock and biryani dinner. Siddiqui says the goal is to share knowledge, promote allyship, and help the next generation heal from the impacts of colonization.
Everything works on relationships. What is so common between Muslims and Indigenous is our families come first, right? And then we are very community oriented, and then we respect our women. Unfortunately, colonial powers try to erase that, try to erase the woman's role of leadership in our communities, and brought their European ideas and imposed them, and the curriculum they imposed on us. So it's almost like recapturing our values and instilling them in our, and building capacity in our youth.
And that's your evening newscast for this January 22nd. We're back again tomorrow for your daytime and evening newscasts. Make sure to join us then. From our HQ in Winnipeg and from our reporting staff from across the country, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again. Akseh.